Welcome back, friends. It's time for game number 2, Outsiders versus Heroic. Yet another fight for the top 4 as we near the end of Stage 2. NAL, that's another world. They're already done. We're keeping it going here in Europe, and we still have 6, 7, 8, and 9 to go through. Almost at the halfway mark for number 6. Most of your host for the show. With me are Hap and Fresh. Stein, how you doing? That was a great game 1, eh?
It was a great game 1, and I hope that we get to see a great game 2 as well, because both these teams need it.
Yeah, they really both do. 3 points in this game would be huge for Heroic. They want to be back, that's for sure, especially after Charlotte. Outsiders, they haven't been to an event in forever, so who knows, actually. Before the pandemic even, if you're accounting, SI21 couldn't go to Paris.
Yeah, I think they played the mini-major online when it was all in 2020, but yeah, you're talking about Rally, right?
Way back in the day.
With a different squad. So.
Different squad, different org also back in the day, so that's how long we're looking at. It's been a while. Maybe today will be one that'll bring them close. Let's talk about these squads. First up, Heroic. Hap, what do you think?
Yeah, well, Heroic, they started off the stage really strong. I mean, after like 3 wins, they were on 9 points or 8 points, and we thought like, oh, this could be great. Like, they could literally be going to the major as one of our first confirmed teams. And then they came up against Wolves, lost 4-7. I mean, that happens. We have the top 3 currently around. We would still maybe count Heroic as being one of them, even though they have fallen out of it. But then they also lost against Team Secret. And that is going to be more hurtful, because those are 3 points where they only grab 1, of which every other team should be able to grab 3. And that puts them in this difficult position right now where there's many teams knocking on their doorsteps looking to take their spot. And if you look at the rest of the statistics, some are doing great, some are just on average right here, but they need to be more than average to go towards the major. You need to be having 105 EPSs, for example.
I look at stage 1, compare them with that. Heroic, I mean, they had a couple of days of kind of difficult times, but they can still make it through. They got the opportunity.
Yeah, I think so. They've got a lot of opportunity, but they've been a little bit complacent. Complacency is the word that I would use, especially that game against Secret. They got caught out in the map bans. They got caught out in the play style. They got completely sideswiped, and they led it through with a little bit of complacency. But today represents a good opportunity for them. Go and beat a rival that's there for the top 4, and then move through.
And well, since you're just now wrapping up at this point on Heroic, why don't we talk about their opponents, Outsiders, Jack? What can they bring today?
They can bring a performance that's probably different to what a lot of teams in this league bring. Outsiders have a very different strategy when it comes to attack. They particularly like to poke, which, if you don't know what that means, it means take very little map control and wait for your opponents to make a mistake, particularly when you're on the attack. Now, those 2 wins against Secret and Pones, Secret and Pones did just that against Outsiders, made so many mistakes, and that's where Outsiders are good. When Outsiders have to be the ones that take the initiative, i.e. the Na'Vi in the road games, you can see what happens on the road performance. They tend to struggle. So I want to see them strategically taking a little bit more initiative, because the team's full of quality players. Milan's a great player. Pasha's actually having a great stage. Smash has really started to come into his own. The team's got some good players on it, but the problem is the strategy that they're sticking to just isn't quite working out against some of the teams that are just managing them better.
What do you think about the squad?
I mean, there's definitely a lot of potential inside the squad here. I think they just need to work on those last couple of things to get it all connecting, like we've seen other teams connect together here. So there is potential. I think they're still in the running for the majors. So who knows? You know, I mean, we've been talking about teams knocking on the doors. They could be the next one starting knocking.
Definitely so, and that'll be a pretty big upset in some ways, given Heroic's, I guess, way of play over the past 6 months. But exactly which map will we be going to in this case? 9-map pool, 8 are out, 1 is left, and it'll be Border. All right, Chalet banned out by Outsiders just before, leaves us with a defense start for Outsiders on Border. Heroic picking up the attack. Jack, what do you think?
Wonder if Outsiders are taking a page out of Secret's book here by sideswiping Heroic, going to a map that Heroic probably didn't expect. I had this as a Chalet. Heroic probably did. What I will say is Border is Heroic's #1 map preference. They never ban it. They always want to play it. It speaks well. If you saw the Heroic against Pones game last stage, they were super good on it. So Outsiders are going to have to be better than they have been to beat Heroic today.
And they also get attack, Heroic days. And attack, I think, on Border, especially on the top 4,
Yeah.
super favor. Like, you can literally just cut down the entire side. in half, make sure they can't even rotate back anymore, and you just have to deal with 1 or 2 defenders on the actual site if you want to go for the plan. CCTV, that is, or not CCTV, that's Armory.
Armory.
So
Armory.
it's attack. Everything for me speaks to Heroic currently.
Even their droning, because that might have been an issue if you're looking back at that secret game. Flank drones and all of that could be a problem here.
It could be a problem, but I'm pretty sure that they have been able to speak to each other and make sure that won't be an issue anymore. Because in the past games, we have seen it not be an issue. That particular game, it was an issue. So that might have just been an off day.
Yeah, I would put it to that, and I would put it to the role swap of Grizzly and Gorgona kind of changes some roles. We saw Grizzly kind of go through, he had a very couple of bad, not placing the flank drones, couple of missed drones in that game against Secret. He won't let that, personally, he won't let that performance slide, and he'll be back up to normal, I would assume.
Well, let's see how it goes then. Outsiders versus Heroic, keeping up with the fight for the top 4. We'll toss it to our casters. It's Ace and Des. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Milos. Welcome over to the desk, boys and girls, for our second game of the day. Border. Let's talk about that for a minute, Tim. Border doesn't necessarily have the strongest reputation right now, but given it is Heroic's favourite map, the most preferred right now, and Outsiders are challenging them in their own castle, this could prove to be a bit explosive.
It could, and I think, Heroic probably, with the way things are going, needed their favourite map at the minute. They needed to go somewhere that they were comfortable with, so that they could try and steady the ship a little bit. This is a really important game. Now that M&M have just picked up that win, it's super important that Heroic get this, because what they don't want is to see a separation of the top 3 teams. Wolves, Rogue, M&M start drifting clear, and then you've got a bunch of teams all fighting over that 4th spot. We've seen it a few times before in EUL, and Heroic really need to avoid that. So getting the win here, getting the points, and moving with that pack could be crucial for them.
Absolutely could. Well, we'll see how bans come out. I had a quick look back at Heroic's last time they played on this, Heroic's last game on this map. Outsiders have no history of playing it. It's a complete unknown for Heroic coming up against them today. But Heroic have played it a few times, a couple of which was at the Charlotte Major. The last one was against W7M. They were running things like Nook. They were playing Capitao on the attacks, a lot of Lion in the mix as well. So whether or not we see a sort of ban around that coming out from Outsiders would have been interesting. But instead, they've gone for that tried, true, and tested Thatcher ban, Tim.
They have indeed. We will continue our bans with the next attacker coming in any second. It's going to be Heroic to take it down first, and it's going to be the Hibana. So that's a little bit of hard breach utility taken away there. Not too much, but it is going to protect the hatches, particularly when playing on those downstairs sites.
Absolutely. Valkyrie following through just after. It feels very standard for bans. We haven't seen anything too creative or spicy. I'm thinking about things like Azami to stop maps being completely transformed. We've seen Nook bans. We've seen things like Jaeger banned away in previous weeks as well. That's the kind of spicy ban I was thinking of, though, Tim. A Castle coming out as the last ban from Outsiders. This is one of those maps where teams will employ a lot of Castle. And again, looking back at the last game we saw from Heroic, we did see a good amount of Castle being played by them on the defense.
Well, we're going to get into things, I think. It's time for us to have a look towards round 1, and that is where we're going to be heading. We're going to have what could be a very, very decisive game. Come the end of the stage, this is one that we could be looking back at when we're seeing exactly who has made it to the major and who hasn't. And it could be whichever of these teams manage to come away with the win are going to put themselves one step towards or one step ahead in that fight for those positions. It's going to be the top floor. It's going to be Armory, to nobody's surprise, to kick us off. And it's Outsiders starting now. I'm going back to the stage 1 stats. I know things have changed up a little bit. The stage 1 stats that we saw for Border were a 63% attacker win rate. So this could well be a good start for Heroic.
Yeah, I do want to dig back and look at the standings for a quick second, right? We've got Rogue in 3rd on 10 points. You've got Heroic and Na'Vi joint 4th on 9 points. BDS on 8, Outsiders on 7, just below that. And then quite a clear drop down towards G2, Pones and Secret, who sit towards the bottom. So a single win here from Outsiders means they jump ahead of Heroic, and I think at least temporarily could, in fact, no, they wouldn't because of round difference, but they would sit in 4th place and take that spot away from Heroic. Knowing that Rogue play Heroic next week, oh, you can imagine the sheer madness that's going to break down as we start getting towards those last couple of play days. I'm living for it.
Absolutely, you know that it's going to be a tight finish one way or another. We get into the action phase now then, as Heroic will start their first attack. As I say, it's going to be onto Armory. They put in immediate pressure towards CCTV. Grizzly just blasting a few shots in there through the barricade as he heads in that direction. Benja has already taken control of the top of East Stairs, looking to get established, maybe push towards Office as well. They've got a player inside of Sandwich there, so it's something that's going to have to be dealt with once they've got that triple wall open, but definitely stacking up on the east side here, Heroic.
And I love this as well. The Ossa is so valuable here. Benja's got a perfect read on that as well. Real good bait with the Ossa to get him that first kill across. Pasha finds one back on the other side, so it's not all sunshine and rainbows for the side of the attackers, but a couple of kills going their way. And these Ossas down on the west side, the east side, sorry, means they have so much control, because now they can open up the wall in towards break room and stop players moving through there. They can get one down onto the main hallway if so desired as well, to give them even more control. And yes, we are currently playing without scopes, but these boys have got some wicked hip fire on the go. Another one comes across for Heroic, a 4 and 2, and FMX with a couple of smokes whose name plus Milan with those cool ass shades on side are all that stand between Heroic and round one.
The Ossa just pushing forward here, and it's something that Heroic have just used to sort of mark their progress each time. We've got that area locked down, and in goes an Ossa shield. We've got the next area secured, and in comes the Ossa shield, and we can play from behind it. We can gain that intel, gain that information, and as you can see now, the last remaining members of Outsiders, FMX and Milon, are pinned deep inside of sight. They're playing practically shoulder to shoulder at this point, just trying to hold on, and the pressure is going to continue to mount as Heroic have got themselves inside of Fountain and Office now. They're just waiting for that final Toxic Babe canister to burn itself out, and they're going to have over a minute for this final execute.
As soon as this Ossa shield goes down, they can just plant, and there is nothing they can do. There you go. There's no smoke on side. There's no C4. They've got to push and go aggressive. All they can really do is look and watch as this plant goes down. They've got the cover up from the side towards Fountain. In comes Sloth. FMX on the downstairs. A great read. He is indeed down there, but he can do nothing about this one, Tim. Came down with a shotgun, hoping to stop the plant going down, but too little too late. Heroic going to bully him here in the final seconds of the round to give themselves a very comfortable first close, well coordinated, and I'm pretty sure a 3k for Sloth at the end.
That was looking fantastic for Heroic there. You know, definitely looking improved over what we've seen over the last week or two. They got themselves established well, used the Ossa's presence to really stifle Outsiders on the defence, and ultimately a nice execute into Archives to get that diffuser down, and I dare say it's going to make Outsiders think twice before heading back there, and indeed it looks like they're going to be mixing things up with a switch to ventilation and workshop.
I just thought it was a brilliant read, and the use of the Ossa itself to, not pop down a shield and then leave it there. They were constantly picking up the shields and moving them forwards. Again, one to control towards break room, use one to try and angle towards Office, and Benja predicted the aggression from Smash absolutely perfectly. Just one step after another, moving forwards. It was like a very, very slow crawling forward shield, almost like a Monty, but obviously in a spot where you can still have your guns up and go for a good challenge. So a great first round from Heroic, very adaptive. Outsiders just left with no real answer to deal with the aggression coming in. Their change in this round is going to be to have at least 3 impacts on side left here, one used to open up a rotate. So if they do see the Ossa again, at least they'll have an answer.
Going to be heading into things any second now. We've got Gorgona on the Nomad this time around, and that's going to be a switch away. It's an interesting switch between players, really. Grizzly was going to be bringing the Nomad, but goes to the Ace. Uno drops the Thermite to bring the Buck, and we've just got that entire shift, as we often see from these, with the attacker repick. You can just have a look at the site. You can say, no, you know what, we're going to go to plan 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's how our lineup needs to look. So that is what they've done.
This is the kind of stuff that makes it really hard to follow who plays what role in the team, because we've literally seen Gorg and Grizzly swap who's playing what operator last round. We had Ace for Gorg and Grizzly on the Nomad. Now you've done a total swap over. Uno drops away from the Oster instead onto the Buck, and Sloth steps in with an entry. Clearly having a good day so far here, looking for one more man, but gets tagged down to the side. Clearly a little bit too quick there in his aggression and gets traded out.
4v4 as Benja continues his progress across the top floor. He's looking to get himself into security there. He's got one man that could contend. It's the Azami of Rask just playing on hatch at the moment. Gorgona's going to do a little bit of work with the drone, but I'm not sure how quickly he's going to get there. The challenge comes in from Benja, so he certainly knows that the Azami is present there as a Kiba barricade gets thrown up in front of his face. So that's going to lead him to just drop himself away back down to that bottom floor. But top floor control is going to be important. important here. It continues to be fought over with Pasha managing to find one before Uno gets an immediate trade there, but Rask still hasn't been dealt with on the Azami. I think maybe forced back to the lower floor. Nope, still there, still playing on the hatch, still ready to drop away, but there are two present on the upstairs for Outsiders, and they can hold on to this site from up there if needs be.
They must know, surely. They've just got a drone that went through across break room next to him, so they'll have an idea if he steps across from that point. Nice dodge of the mute jammer as well by, getting the drone rifling on through. This is the kind of information they're looking for, but the question is, do they have any idea or inclination where these players are? Because I'm not convinced they do. They're watching the hard vertical angle, and as long as they have someone sat on this drone, they should be able to respond. But you can see Outsiders are just waiting here, waiting for the go sign to come in from Heroic, because that is when they will respond.
Benja just looking to get forward now, establish that territory inside of Tellers, and then he can move forward to try and push through Bathroom potentially. But without the hard breach of Grizzly, obviously going to be an issue there for them, depending on the setup of the defenders and just how much of that wall they've reinforced. Got Milon just lurking now as well. It just feels like Heroic have maybe run out of a couple of ideas here, as they haven't quite... No, there we go. They've managed to get them in. That was the one I was wondering about, was that Bathroom wall. They've taken control and they've used the rotation against the defenders, and that is a bit of a misplay from Outsiders. The fact that they've allowed Heroic to get in there and use that to take control of that area of the map and get themselves a free plant down. Uno with a double after the fact as well gets taken down, but his work is well and truly done at this point. 1v2, it's all up to Smash. He's roaming, he's searching, he's trying to find anybody he can, but he's up against one of the top gunners in the league, and Benja is going to close it out. Heroic take the second round with their second plant.
Looking comfortable there as well, and yeah, I'm amazed they managed to get hold of the angle, but just about dodged the long one, put a little bit of pressure down towards Passport, and from there there's nothing else really to be said. Uno getting the plant down and a couple of kills in the close. Absolutely beautiful stuff. Feels so far like Heroic are the ones being given the full run-of-the-mill. Outsiders giving over a lot of control so far. Look back at round one. East gone, Office gone, back on site, they get bullied around. Here, a very similar story where there was no real attempt to challenge against Heroic. They just sat and held these longer angles, hoping that someone would walk into them. It's almost like they're trying to play a little bit like an ambush style of game here, but Heroic just having none of it, playing the basics incredibly well and constantly finding rounds. So, Outsiders need to find something different, otherwise this could be a very rough half.
Certainly could be. We get into round 3 as Outsiders try to prevent that rough half. We'll try and get things settled out a little bit here. They go back to Armory. We saw them play it in round 1, but it didn't really work out for them. It was a great attack from Heroic. Last time around, they came in from East Stairs, got themselves established in Office, then through Fountain, got a plant on Archives door. It was just really well orchestrated with kills along the way. Whether they choose to do that the same or not this time, I'm not sure. I would expect... Well,
look at the lineup.
We've got a Knock, we've got a Ying, we've got a Blackbeard. It's unorthodox. There's that much I will say. There's no hard breach, which leads me to think we're not going to be going towards the west wall. It's going to be an east-sided push again.
This is like when you buy a curry and you go, oh, how hot is it? And they're like, oh, it's just a little bit spicy. You're like, all right, it can't be too bad then. Then you taste it and it's like, oh my God, there is so much packed in there. What is that? That is this comp. They've gone for so much out-of-the-box stuff that you don't normally see in this kind of combo. Maybe you'd see one. You'd see a Ying. You'd see a Nook. You'd see a Blackbeard. But no, you've got all three rocking up at the same time here. So Outsiders about to get hit by a truck, like a truck, sorry, or by a truck, compared to nothing they've ever seen before. They get one back, but here it goes. Everyone charging in. 3 kills flying the way of Heroic. They're in with plants out. Tracks going down. Plant coming through. Everything going their way. There is one man left standing. Pasha's full white screen. He has no idea that the plant's going down behind him in the smoke. Well, that was pretty rapid, Tim.
Bless Pasha.
He tried his best.
That whole situation goes off.
Screen.
Players die everywhere, and we get a beautiful top down of Pasha just stood in the middle of it like, what? Guys? Where's everybody gone?
Like I said, spicy comp.
It certainly was. I mean, it's one of those that you're not going to get away with it every single time. I mean, it's sort of kind of difficult to defend against, but it's not the sort of thing that I don't think we'll see Heroic try to double down on and go for again. But it's just got them around. It's just got them 3-0. You know, it sends a message to Outsiders that we've got more than one plan. You can't just prep for what we did last time. We're going to bring you something different. And that's 3 rounds, 3 plants. You know, Heroic are going big on the objective game.
And this has been the theme of the season, I think, across a lot of teams. The ones that have done best so far have been the ones that can hit you really hard and fast on the attack. Look at Wolves. Look at Rogue. Look now at Heroic as well and what they're doing. You know, the kind of more slower pace controlled siege is still there, but it's much more aligned around a very decisive attack, right? And I feel like Heroic really... They fell behind when they played against Rogue, right? We haven't really seen them be quite the same since. They lost them on Oregon, couldn't really match the aggression that Rogue were bringing out. But here against a team that are a little bit more slow, Heroic are taking every bit of space being offered to them.
Okay, then we've got a Banshee placed outside by the Malusi of Milon there. That's an interesting one. It's just going to provide a bit of intel. If nothing else, it'll get shot out quite easily. But as you see, Milon's playing right on top of it. So he wants that noise, he wants that sound, and then he can challenge on through that soft wall. So that's an interesting one to keep our eyes on. Uno is going to be opening up detention wall with the exothermic. Grizzly manages to find a kill onto Pasha to kick us off. And that is, again, a strong start for Heroic inside the first 30 seconds.
Just too easy. I think about like when Benja in round 1 tagged the player that was trying to challenge onto East Airs when the officer was setting up a shield, for example. Heroic are just letting outsiders be the ones that run into them. And Fresh spoke about this a little bit on the desk, saying this kind of poke play style where you sit back and observe and just let them do silly things that net you free kills. And it feels like the early aggression coming out of outsiders is just a little bit too aggressive. Milan here being sprayed through the floor almost loses his life and surely must be thinking, all right, boys, I've tried the cheese. It's not tasting so good. Let's get out of Dodge.
Benja, just with that bit of information from the drones, was able to pepper Mill on there, and he has to step back. We can see the pressure mounting from Heroic here, but what a kill from FMX, managing to find the head of Grizzly. 4v4. Sloth tries to go direct into sight. He might lose his life, but Gorgona's there, backing up with another. FMX does find Uno, though. That's the planter down, and Rask also onto Sloth, taking what little HP he had left. FMX is low at the minute, but it leaves us effectively in a 2v2. But interestingly, Heroic still have the Finker on board. Not anymore. Caster's Curse, as I say, that smash takes him down. FMX with the finish onto Gorgona, and finally Outsiders have found themselves something.
Kind of feels like they weren't too heavily restricted there as well, right? Like Outsiders were free to play around CC for the most part. They had 2 or 3 players running around inside a site quite comfortably, where Heroic could force themselves through a bottleneck coming in through jail. And the one thing you have to absolutely adore as defenders is bottlenecks. If you know attackers are all coming in through a single doorway, just watch the door. It's basically as simple as that. 3 players all trying to force their way through. They pick them off as and when they need to. No real big challenge from Outsiders, but clearly still feel there is a conversation to be had. Those first 3 rounds didn't go well. They've been blessed with a win in round 4 in customs and supply, but now they've either got to go down to bathroom and tell us that we haven't seen yet, or they've got to return to one of the 2 sites where they have been absolutely stomped throughout this game so far.
Outsiders with the tactical timeout, just going to have a little break. I don't think it's a bad time either. They managed to get themselves the first round on the board there. You know, they can just slow things down a little bit now. What worked? What was the difference? All smiles, I like to see. You know, there's some good energy in the team there. They've not been beaten up by this Heroic start. But if Heroic come out of this first half 5-1, you start looking at it then thinking, you know, this is not going to be easy for Outsiders. So this next round, round 5, is particularly important for them. They're going for top floor again. They've lost it twice so far. They need to get this locked down. It's the primary site on board. They've got to get this one done.
Lost it twice, but what I'm more excited about in this round is Heroic's clearly on the mind. Heroic's lineup. They've had 2 very different comps, right? Round 1, we saw a more standard one with the Ossa. Round 3, we had that crazy, like, hit and rush style comp. Here they're bringing out one of the operators that I spoke about earlier on, the Lion. This is the kind of thing they employed against W7M. Used much more to clear out a team that was being aggressive around the map. And looking at the lineup coming out of Outsiders, maybe you see the Malusi, maybe you see the Wamai, and maybe you see the Izami and go, okay then boys, they're getting out in the map, let's go and try and shut them down with the Lion. Everything just screams to me it's all about control though, because you're also seeing the Zero coming along here too.
Going to be getting inside of the round now. Round number 5, 3-1 currently to Heroic as they push very quickly towards buildings. Something that we've seen them do so far is getting inside of the map very quickly on the attack, getting those hard breaches done, pushing forward and putting pressure onto Outsiders. Zero of Uno is going to open that up to begin with, and that's maybe just to apply a little bit of pressure to this Izami from underneath. If they move somebody like Benja or Sloth in, if they know that it's Rask that's been playing previously, still Rask on the Izami. If they know that she's there, they can start using those vertical nades.
Well, here they're really looking for the player that might still be hanging upstairs. It was Rask on the Izami that was playing in this spot, but since the Lion scan came through, he backed out towards 90. He's now dipped his way back inside, feeling pretty secure to step forwards. That spray through the floor, just making sure that he can't play in behind the desk itself. But as it stands, Heroic haven't really done much to force him away for good.
I think that's going to be the next step for them, is recognising that he's there. Nade comes out. It's not going to do the business, though, but Grizzly does manage to find the kill onto Pasha. Grizzly once again, as you say, with that big opener. And Rask has been forced away, so whilst the nade didn't get the kill, it still did the job, and it gets CCTV. Nice. Keeps pushing forward. I was going to say it gets CCTV for Heroic, but the problem is they don't have anybody there to push in and take the ground, so they force Rask away, and then he's allowed to come back. Another vertical nade goes out, but Rask manages to move away from it. He's giving him some fancy footwork at the minute and keeping himself alive, wasting a lot of time, but finally Gorgona gets it done at the halfway mark, and Heroic can continue pushing.
Really feel like he should have had bot down. There we go. Milan coming out on the other side as well. And this is where team play is always good. If you know the Azami's going for a challenge, have someone else swing out from the West Main. Grizzly has got this one on lock, though. A Smash comes in for a run out. I like the aggression coming through, but it's solo plays right now for Outsiders. It's not 2 or 3 players moving at the same time to try and run out on one person or make sure there's a trade to come through, and that is where they're paying the price. 3v2.
Sloth just getting the drones in. We're at that stage, 50 seconds left to go. They just need to know where these last 2 players are located. Finds the Tachanka inside of Archives. Going to leave a drone. It may well have been heard by FMX, but he's not going to take his eye off the prize, as he's not going to look away to try and find that drone. Milan just continuing to try and challenge through the soft wall. FMX does take a little bit of damage on the Tachanka, so Heroic are looking to push forward, take that challenge and win that fight. Sloth, he sees his man. Can he get the kill? Absolutely. Leaving it now just down to Milan, who also takes bullets. He's got about 30 HP left. There's an opportunity for potentially Uno to get the plant down, but he doesn't have the time, as Grizzly continues his great game, finds a kill, closes the round, and that is Heroic now 4-1.
And 3 very different attacks onto this site. I said at the start, that round was a lot more about the control, with the 0 Sam cams, with the Lion coming through. Sure, they had to deal with the Azami that was bouncing back and forth, and they kept trying to find those vertical nades that just couldn't quite connect. But in the end, the pressure that comes through just forces them back towards Fountain, and that is when Heroic say, right, our push is now coming up through double door into office, collapse on the Chanka, and just shut this one down. Again, it just feels like they're a much more prepared team here, like they're much more aligned on their game plan. If Outsiders have maybe tried to play for trades onto Grizzly on the upside down Repel, for example, and got rid of him, suddenly you have quite a lot more control out towards West Main, and maybe you feel a little bit more comfortable there. But they just never really had that control because, again, the team are making these solo plays rather than looking to move as a unit.
On we go then. Round number 6, final defence for Outsiders. They're going to take Ventilation and Workshop. It is another site that they've tried, another site that they've lost. It was back in round 2. Heroic were able to lock this one down. They dealt with the top floor pretty well. And then when the opportunity presented itself, there were 2 men left on the top floor, but only 1 playing down on site. They just got in there, used that bathroom rotate against the defenders and got the diffuser down. It was Uno, once again, who managed to get that plant. So potentially similar, but I want Outsiders to learn from that round. I want them to think about bathroom. If you're going to play the rotate in there, you got to hold on to it. If you lose men in that area, you got to put another one there. You can't allow your attackers to walk into site for free.
I think a really small, cute thing they've done here as well, on the defender side, this is they've actually put a mute jammer on Jail. So where every single round without fail we've had the Buck or a Hard Breacher in general just walk up and open Jail for free, it might not suddenly be so free for Uno to get away with that. But it's Benja who's just kind of crouch walking his way through here. Do they have any ideas here? They find one for free. Does he look towards 90? That's where the second man is. But no, a little too slow on the response. There is no trade out. And that pesky Azami that was running back and forth all of last round is gone inside 30 seconds.
Yep, well dealt with. That's Heroic recognising where the problems were, what were the sticking points, and how can we deal with them, and dealt with them. They have. Benja getting himself another opener, and just Heroic really dominating that entry battle so far. Every single one going their way, I think, at this point, maybe bar one, and they are just absolutely flying in the early round. Gorgona, he's just going to open up that ventilation window on the knock. He's actually moving away at the minute, but I did wonder for a second whether there was going to be an opportunity for him to just have a look direct inside a site, but no, Milan, he holds down an angle, tight as it was, doesn't find his man though, and will likely start coming under some pressure. He has to use the Oryx dash there to get away from that nade damage, and right now that should be vertical control. Not quite secured, but almost there for Heroic.
Good understanding as well that Heroic have got so many nades on side here, so the game plan is you take a gunfight, they know where you are, you know they're going to drone you. So he was looking for drones, and as soon as he shot it, he was out of dodge, charging away. Knew that a nade was very likely to follow through, so good to keep himself alive at least for now. They are still down a number, and Heroic have been a little bit slower here so far. They have been in prior rounds. We're down to about that last 60-second mark or so, and they're still looking to get ready for the site execute.
Now Grizzly just pushing himself in, looking for those verticals down into custom, try and cut off any rotates. Benja with a second, Benja with a third on the round. Milon is going to shut him down, but the damage has been done by the Finker. It's now a 4v2. Pasha has managed to get himself back upstairs. If you look up, you'll find one, Pasha, and he does at just the right time. Manages to find Sloth. Uno, he gets taken down inside a site, and this could be a misplay from Heroic, but Grizzly, he manages to retake the top floor. It's a retake of a retake, Des. 1v1 now, though, as Milon manages to find Gorgona inside a site. 30 seconds left to go, and Milon has the beauty of getting juiced up by those Thunderbird salvation stations. Could be a dangerous drop. Grizzly getting aggressive on the Lion now. Doesn't have diffuser in hand, only has 20 seconds.
Has no idea where he is as well. I think he knew and heard the Kokona stations go off there and was like, okay, time to get myself back down again. Now looking off towards the right-hand side. He knows that the man's inside a site, but will he see him first? Milon sees him and gets the kill as well. It does mean it's not an absolute car crash first half coming out for Outsiders, but we've got to see so much more in the second.
Big mistake from Heroic there. I think we spoke in the pre-show, if I'm right, about Heroic and their droning and just making sure that they're on those flank drones. They've got them out there, they're watching them, allowing that retake of the top floor, allowing that challenge onto Sloth, cost them the round. They were trying to get the diffuser down, they were waiting for the push to potentially come from single door, but no, they were upstairs with you, and that was a huge problem. It then meant they had to adapt in the very late round, and it just didn't leave them time to get themselves an advantageous position to work from.
It come down to a very hectic 1v1, and if anyone's going to win it for you, of course it's going to be Milon. That was even after Benja's 3k as well, which just goes to show again the capability of some of the players that we've got in the European League. I've always hyped up Milon. I really think he's an absolute gem, a diamond in the rough, you might say, given how the last few seasons have gone for Outsiders, but steps up big when you need him to. Let's see how this goes in the second half though, Tim, because Outsiders on the attacking side, they've been a little bit slow, a little bit lethargic on the attack historically. Against Heroic, you can't afford to play like that.
No, you absolutely can't. Gorgona going to be getting himself set up inside of Customs. It's something that we saw Rask doing. Will Heroic have the same sort of success with it? Rask held on to CCTV for a long time in multiple rounds, but they could never really convert that time into round wins, and that's something that Heroic obviously are going to be looking to do here in a converse sort of fashion. Now then, Rask on the knock, he's straight in underneath here, Des. He's moving quickly through the map. He's got a drone ahead of him. He could well head, I'm thinking maybe up main stairs. No, the challenge is going to come in from above. They know that he's there, and that is well watched by the Azami of Gorgona.
For now, at least, yeah. I mean, think about how much time they spent trying to chase Rask out of this spot before as well. You basically got an exact repeat of what was going on previously in a similar sort of spot. Smash in with a very cheeky spot. Normally seeing nades fly down through these holes, and finally Grizzly will tell, oh, there's laser beams coming from the sky. Probably means there's a drone up there. Gone and removed.
Nade will go out. Gorgona manages to survive just as Rask did previously. That's it. Just keeps himself elevated and away from that damage. Now then, Uno in an interesting position there. He's waiting for a potential hop in through that window, and boy, will they get a surprise if they go for it. Pasha is going to be heading up here. I'm not sure that's what he's looking for as he goes on the rappel up to ceiling. I think nades. What they want is the nades to go in towards Sandwich potentially. They're just looking to put a bit of pressure on those inside of office. We can see the My Magnet is out again to try and prevent that. Interesting Nitro toss is not going to find its man. Wrong side indeed. And Pasha will continue just on the drones trying to find the spot for that nade.
Right idea, though. It's normally where you toss nades from is on that west side. Just can't quite be found in that instance. Now, nade coming in from below once again. A little bit of damage onto Sloth. Not enough to scare him away too much. But now he's aware, okay, someone is on at the downstairs. That's only 2 of their 6 nades burnt through, though. Outsiders, you got to get using them soon, guys. You've gone through 2 minutes and only got 2 down. Let's see him sing a little bit more.
Uno still waiting, and it's surely going to have been heard there. Smash is there, but he can't get the kill as Uno goes out and gets himself a double. What is going on? FMX FMX manages to find a kill onto Gorgona, and here comes the push from the knock up the stairs. FMX with the second, finishing Grizzly with the pistol there. 3v3 in a quick turnaround for Outsiders. They found themselves really on the back foot after that Uno jump out, but Rask doesn't get away with that main stairs surprise push.
Oh, FMX was just ready, knew or must have guessed and had that anticipation that Uno would be sidestepping across towards Sandwich. Now, Benja's inhaling all the sloth gas, not really a smoke player apparently, as down he goes as well. Benja's got it all to do, finds the planter. Does he see the man on the main stairs? Yes, he does. Can't quite find the kill though, as Ras down to a slither of HP. Now on the push, knows the diffuser has been picked up, but do they expect this? For him to come in behind them? No, they don't. What's going on, boys? Don't tell me you throw it away now. Benja into a 1v1. He's got the shield on side, sees the man, steps up and goes for the shots, but can't quite find him. Has ducked his way to the side here as well. Rask, now's the time to go big buddy, but he won't be able to do it. No, he can't. Benja holds on. Heroic get round 7, but what a chaotic round that was, Sim.
What a hero play from Benja there, and I just love the confusion he created amongst the Outsiders attackers there. They had no idea whether they were coming or going. He gets a kill into office, he moves around, he challenges smartly through metal detector, but then hits the flip reverse, goes back round and gets himself another. Obviously no flank drones. It was something I picked up on from Heroic, and Outsiders have just suffered via exactly the same means. You can't take advantage of it and then allow Heroic to do the same thing to you guys. You gotta lock down those flanks, and what a 1v3 from Benja.
It was just the lack of awareness in a way, right? This first one coming in from afar was comfortable. And then the follow-up in towards office when you know he's already been challenging that sort of area. Yeah, at this point, probably the game plan is get close together, boys. Stack up and be ready for a trade coming in. Clearly they expected a 90 push to be the play. I was really worried in this 1v1 that he was going to lose it for a brief second. Thank God he didn't in a way, because otherwise it would have been a real spoiler towards the end of a fantastic play. A big 1v3 to make sure Heroic got that round on the board.
Ventilation will be the next site for Heroic then, so directly underneath the one that they've just defended. They're going to be holding on to it largely the same. It's going to be about keeping hold of Armory, keeping hold of CCTV for a little while. As I say, that Gorgona gets out there, applying those keeper barricades once again. I'm not sure if that's the angle that he wanted from that one or not. It doesn't really cover a lot of the door, so I don't know if he was maybe intending for something else, or maybe it just creates enough of an angle for him. But either way, he's got himself set up inside of there now as the Outsiders push begins once again.
And this time around there is absolutely work to do, although it started out well, let's not forget. They were down to just one man being left standing. Unfortunately, it was Benja, not the one you want to be trying to deal with here. Gorg once again playing in a similar spot to Rask. The change between his play and the Azami so far has been how deep these keeper barriers are. More towards the 90 rotation than they are out towards the actual security desk itself, where you can afford to play a little more aggressively. Nade in hand here looking to go in deep, but straight over the top of his head as a drone came in at his feet as well. Potentially a swing coming in from the sledge shot towards the side, and Smash gets the entry. Down goes Gorg.
Great start for Outsiders then. Not only clearing a difficult player out, but also clearing a location that they need control of. CCTV now under their lockdown. Smash is going to continue trying to push himself into Armory, and that is exactly the foundation that CCTV sets you up for. You can then look to clear out the rest of the top floor. Rask is going to be using that Gemini decoy just to have a little look around. Spots one out on main stairs, continues to push through into archives and has players moving along with him. The Legion of Benja has been forced down to the bottom of main stairs. Heroic on the back foot here. They've lost top floor control. They've lost the opening kill. They've 4v5 and they've got work to do.
They do. Still holding pretty static as well, sorry. When you look at Outsiders, one of the criticisms in that first half was at points a little bit static, a bit too passive, a bit too defensive. Heroic, I think, at least are holding out in the map. They had someone on main stairs, for example, someone looking to challenge Milan on the vertical as well. So they have got players in good positions to be able to challenge here, but they're just waiting to see what Outsiders do.
Grizzly just looking to get aggressive and try and get something going. He's managed to get himself on the flank here, and once again, if Outsiders haven't drawn this up properly, it could be a problem. I think they're aware. Rask, he has a little look around. He knows his man is there, but he doesn't find him. Grizzly manages to get the kill, and that allows him to continue playing on the flank, but Smash, he double guesses, guesses exactly where he's going and manages to outthink him and get that final kill. 4v3 as Outsiders maintain their advantage, but only 30 seconds left to go.
Still a lot of time to play with here as they rotate their way off. Two players have just pushed their way in towards customs here as well.
Sloth's on the upstairs with the Oryx. I think he's managed to get himself up a hatch maybe, and he could be looking again to push onto the flank. FMX is in there, he's going to be getting the diffuser down much better from Outsiders this time. Keeping an eye on those flanks. Sloth shut down, Uno out of it. 4v1, diffuser on the ground, and this is looking good for Outsiders.
That's the good stuff you want to see. Fighting their way back into things here. Get the plant down, end with 4 alive. A much more convincing round. For Heroic, is this the start of something shaky? Again, that last round required a 1v3 big hero play. If that round had gone the side of Outsiders alongside the one we've just had a second ago, it's been far from convincing from Heroic, and they appear to agree, Tim. They've called the timeout here because this defense so far is absolutely not going the way they planned.
No, I don't think it is. I think there's an element of attacker favour on border. As I said, coming into it, we did see in stage 1 that the attacker side was winning 63% of rounds on border. So it's not too much of a surprise to see the defenders sort of struggling a little bit to hold on to some of these sites. But Heroic, ultimately, you want to go to Berlin, you want to get that major spot. These are the difficult games you've got to be able to win when others around you have won their difficult game. Eminem's matchup against Na'Vi earlier was never going to be easy, and it didn't play out to be easy for them. So they've managed to get it done. You've got to manage to get it done.
That's it, right? It's not just about the big games. Again, I look back to Heroic's game against Rogue and just said, look, they just didn't bring the same level of aggression that Rogue did on the day itself. Here, I think they played exceptionally well in the first half. Their attacks were very, very good. On the second side here, you kind of saw 2 half attempts at flanks coming through, which were just answered by Outside as well. They were cutting the rotates off back towards site. So I think almost on the side of Heroic, it was okay, we know we can get a kill here, but then what? And that is where Outsiders always found a kill back on the other side. Heroic just playing into a trade game when you're already a man or 2 down is never going to be a winning formula.
Not at all. In we go then, round number 9. Heroic this time mixing things up. They're going to go to Bathroom and Tellers. First time that we've seen this site so far today, and there is a big onus on trying to hold on to Office when you're trying to lock down this site. So that is going to be a bit of a focus for the defenders of Heroic. I'm not sure they'll play with as much of a presence out in CCTV. It's going to be more about the opposite side. They've got the Pulse on side this time. Interesting switch up. Gorgona bringing him along. We've also got a Thorn from Uno, so quite a shift in the defensive makeup.
Yeah, looking at, for example, how we had Legion from Benja in the previous round, right? They've tried to play that sort of trap-based operator a couple of times, and clearly not to the strongest of success that you'd like to see. So maybe here the Thorn at least is more the indicator. You often see that paired off with something like a Melusi, right? It slows them down. They're pretty much, not guaranteed, but a lot more likely to get killed by the Razor Balloon going off, whereas for the most part, you can ignore it. It more serves as like information than anything else in this kind of position. But the main reason why you bring that Thorn is because of the shield here, and that's what they wanted in the lineup.
Rask once again on the knock, just trying to get in through that main entrance. He's going to actually rotate around to ventilation window, maybe look to move inside there. But we have seen early pressure from Rask on the knock, or at least an attempt to get in there quietly and try to go about his business underneath. But at the minute, just making a lot of noise for a stealthy operator, and it looks like Heroic are well aware of the push from towards the main door.
I do enjoy, it was Rask who was playing it previously, but the liberal use of the Gemini decoy clone as well coming out of the Iana has been really, you know, again, liberal. They've used it an awful lot. You saw Rask on it 3 or 4 times, I think, in the previous round. So relying on that as a large part for their information is a good way to preserve drones. They are down to about 5 already, only left on side, and Uno is there to bring down Pasha early on. That's a bit of a stinger.
Certainly is. That is a nice opener for Heroic. We saw them really dominating the entry battles in the first half, and that continues here. And now Rask looking to get himself inside of meeting room, but they know that he's there. Sloth peaks at the same time as Gorgona, and they manage to find themselves the kill. Shut down Rask 5v3.
Absolutely perfect. That I was referring back to back in the first half when it was Outsiders on the defense about not swinging at the same time. You've seen Heroic time that 3-2-1. We step out. If one of us goes down, we're basically guaranteed to get the trade. Beautiful bit of team play.
Absolutely fantastic. Smash looking to get himself through. Will be spotted out on the default cam before he takes it down. So Outsiders right now are scrambling a little bit. They don't have much in the way of map control. They've only got themselves CCTV, which when we remember they're attacking onto Bathroom and Tellers, CCTV is not going to do them many favours. They need to get themselves above the site. Now then, potentially going to be forced away here. The exothermic does manage to get squeezed onto the corner, but do they know that Benja's hiding? Milon, he finds Grizzly. I don't think they're aware of Benja here. Milon's not looking towards him. Benja is going to drop away. I think maybe if he stays the course there, he actually has a little bit more joy, but the point here is Heroic are burning so much time away from sight. Outsiders haven't been near yet.
And look at their HP as well. FMX and Milan both being absolutely flagged down here as well. The C4 tickled onto Milan. Obviously hasn't finished him off, and he's got one more juice left there in the back pocket of the Finker. But it feels like they've lost basically everything, because look at how many nades they came into this round with. 8. They've only got 3 left on board, so 4 have gone down in back pockets. Make it a couple more as well. They have not had a chance to use them. Benja's in to find one, but there's still only one man left. As a nade does finally get a kill. There is no time left though at this point. It's going to be a closeout for Heroic. Up they go towards match point.
Certainly getting there and looking worth it as well, Des. You know, they've looked like the better team. There's no question of that. Outsiders have had their moments, but at least one of their rounds came from a bit of a hero play, and right now Heroic are certainly on top. They can also go back to Armory Lockers, which was the first defensive site that they won back in round 7. They're going to be feeling pretty confident at this point.
Yeah. Again, it's that last round to me is a really good example of why you want to be getting out in the map. I've said as attacker repickers come in, defenders need to get out in the map and get more disruptive. If you leave attackers to their own devices, they will hit you with the most optimal comp they've got to pull off and execute. Whether that's littered with nades, whether it's specific operators, it kind of doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. It was just one of those, again, where they had 8 nades in back pocket, 2 were used throughout the entire round, so some real critical bits of utility that you've brought along when there's only a Wamai on the other side. You'll be kicking yourself, but it was super well played by Heroic, to get so aggressive in the early round and bring down those critical players with both nades in back pocket still.
Here we go then. Benja is going to be just on the Wamai again. Another shift in the defensive makeup. This lineup just rotating each round depending on where we go. But a significant shift in the type of operators that we're seeing from some players. Gorgona back on the Azami rather than the Pulse. Benja bringing the Wamai this time. Uno sticking stoically to that Echo.
Mentioned it back in the first half how they were sort of trading operators around. We haven't seen as much of it here in the second half. It really is more based on the site overall in terms of what the entire comp is they want to bring along. If someone's playing smoke, they'll play smoke, and that's just the way it's going to stick across a number of sites. That mirror though coming out here onto West Main gives them a nice bit of control out towards the west side, so another bit of variation that we're seeing coming in. Full information being given across to outsiders by Milan here as well. But keep an eye on the drone count, because that has trickled down to about the 4 or 5 mark quite quickly inside of rounds here. They've lost 2 or 3 here early on. Not forgetting that you only get 9 normal drones because you also get the 2 shock drones, so Twitch doesn't get the second normal drone as well. So far only lost 2 though, so not a bad start.
Brass pinging out utility and Smash sending the Twitch drone in to get rid of it. That is going to take away the prox alarm. Nade comes in for Gorgona, but it's not going to be successful. I don't know whether it's got eaten up or whether it wasn't thrown, potentially. But Rask's drone is going to keep an eye on Gorgona, still spotting him out. The information is there, so you'd expect this nade to potentially be a good one when it is finally released.
I mean, here they want to nade him, but they're so wary about exposing themselves as he swings out to try and go for a challenge. Milan working his way forward here. There's a mirror window to the one side, but Sandwich gets himself an absolute freebie and jets back out into towards 90 here as well. Good bit of play. And now they've got Gorgona trying to challenge on towards the other side. A nade rolls over the top. No damage on towards Gorg as that pressure starts to build up around the map.
Yeah, Heroic definitely feel like they're on the back foot here as Smash manages to find Benja as well. 5v3 now. Gorgona still holding on, but outsiders don't seem too worried about that. They're just sort of keeping him in position. No Gorgona, they're coming through the door for you. And Rask, he manages to find his kill. 5 versus 2 as outsiders starting to run away with this one. We can see a little bit of utility being caught up by those Wamai magnets, but it's not utility that you need now, Heroic. It's kills if you want to get yourself back into this.
Sloth still got all 3 smokes on side, and there's 60 seconds left. They're not the end of the world. They'll waste about 30 seconds for you. I'm wondering where the Yokais are at, and realistically, how well set up outsiders are to looking for this execute, because so far, the answer doesn't feel particularly convincing. I say that, and Sloth just walks blindly up the stairs in towards Milan. Uno's left all alone. This one should be an outsiders round.
Exactly that. Uno's just going to hold on for as long as possible. He's got the Echo drone if he can find the planter, which he's not going to do in time. It was pretty much irrelevant anyway as the Hounds were closing in. They were pushing towards him. They knew his location, and even if he had been able to prevent the plant with the Yokai drone, he certainly couldn't have done so for 38 seconds. So that's going to be the round for outsiders. They keep themselves close. Heroic still looking for that final round.
I think really the big one to shout out in that round was Milan as well. When he broke his way in towards Office and cleared out the sandwich player, that immediately just started pulling the attention of Gorgona away, because suddenly you have no real control of the 90 hallway. You have no one that can challenge inside of there. Office is suddenly a lot more opened up. Sure, you've got a mirror window, but then Fountain is no longer safe because you don't know if Milan's knock is going to come through 90, if he's going to push up through Office double door. So then Gorg has to start giving support, and then his attention is being pulled away from CC. And just with that one play, a very bold and aggressive play at that, he just completely split the defenders apart there, split their focus, split their attention, and they got picked off one at a time by outsiders. So again, in this game, another big play coming out of Milan.
Grizzly then on the Oryx. Always an operator I like to keep an eye on, with Sin Sloth already using that vertical climbing ability to try and get back up on the flank of the attackers. And it's this time going to be Grizzly's turn as he tries to do that. As I said, quite a big shift sometimes in the type of operators that we see. And I mentioned there how we've already seen Sloth on the Oryx. This time it's Grizzly on the Oryx and Sloth bringing basically almost the exact opposite in Maestro. He's going to be playing in and around site. He's going to be locking himself down, trying to use that big LMG rather than playing out on the roam, rather than trying to play fluidly like Grizzly on the Oryx. So I'm just not sure for Heroic whether that's a good idea or not. You know, you're sort of disrupting that consistency for yourself.
It's interesting looking at the two teams and how their lineups have varied, by the way, on the attacking side of things. Outsiders have been pretty static throughout. The only real change has been occasionally having a Twitch on side. They've rotated Knock throughout a couple of times, but that's been about it. Whereas you look back at Heroic, we saw the Blackbeard, the Ying, the Nook, the Gridlock, a lot of Buck. We saw Ossa coming out. We had Zero on side. The amount of flexibility they have is far greater in number. A good trick coming through there at the last second as well. That wall stays closed because now FMX is out.
That was really well played. I think it was Uno, maybe Sloth on
Benja
the
or Uno, yeah.
No, it was Uno. I think it was Sloth. It was Medics has confirmed for us. So yeah, Sloth just playing it fantastically well, waiting for the nade to come in, and as it does, then steps out, and he has to hit that throw, and he has to hit it quickly because the exothermic didn't have long until its detonation. So really well played there by Heroic to keep that closed. We're going to see pressure coming down to Smash from above as well. He sort of fires back blindly, doesn't really find too much of a connection, and Uno is going to get the entry. Heroic could well be on the way to the full 3 here.
Uno had this on Smash back in round 7, where through the hatch you just stood there waiting and they walked straight into it, except it was downstairs to upstairs. You've really got to be careful of those hatches, because knowing what Heroic are like, how they like to get out in the map and challenge you, they will happily wait on a hatch and go for it if you're not droning ahead of time. But I spoke about drones earlier. They're down to just 3 in the round, Tim, so outsiders are playing blind in some parts of this map, and that is where Heroic are thriving in the chaos.
Grizzly very lucky not to get picked up there, but he finds his man. Kill onto FMX, and outsiders going to be left wishing that they had seen that Oryx through that broken barricade, but it just didn't allow for it. Rask manages to find Grizzly eventually. That's the Oryx gone. And let's not forget, outsiders are more than capable at fighting back from man disadvantage. We've seen them do it a number of times. They're currently 3v4. They do have time. 3v3 as Pasha manages to find Benja. That's going to be a nice headshot, and it gives a bit of top floor control to outsiders, but they need to deal with Uno yet.
No drone coming through as well, and he's just there blind again. This is that issue when you start running out of information, but they're still finding the kills. Heroic are going to be kicking themselves if they lose this round. They basically have been in a 5 versus 2. The kills they've lost have been real freebies on the other side. Down goes Gorg as well. There's literally 1 remaining, as now it's a 1 versus 1. Milan coming up against Uno. We've been here before, but does he know where the man is, Tim? There's only 20 seconds on the clock.
He's got the diffuser in hand, so he does have the opportunity to try and go for a plant, which is exactly what he's going to do just inside a double door. I'm not sure how aware Uno is. He's going to rip down a barricade, but that sound is not going to stop him. He goes for the softball, finds his kill, and had the information that he needed. Great play from Uno there. Heroic managed to finish things off, and they take the win and the full 3 points.
Drones giveth and drones taketh away. No real information in the last round for outsiders, but you saw the yellow ping information coming in from Heroic. Just goes to show how valuable that information game is. And I won't lie, not the cleanest end from Heroic. I kind of felt that could have gone towards overtime. It could have been 7-5 after that first half. Maybe they should have been more in the lead than they were. A couple of big plays out of Milan, really keeping outsiders still in it.
They've played on one of their favourite maps. You know, they've brought it out when you feel they need to. I look at that and I think, if that was somewhere else, did they win quite as easily, or do we see that maybe going to overtime? Could have possibly been a bit of a closer matchup on another map. But I take absolutely nothing away from Heroic. They had their moments. Benja, big 1v3. You know, they've had some beautiful plays, and they've earned their 3 points.
For me, the big standout part and the difference really, again, was some of the team play, right? We reference how aligned they were in the first half, crouching through East, into Office, in towards site with the Ossa, the 2v1 in towards Passport against the Nook with the perfect trade coming in. Just small things like that. It hasn't always got to be big, impressive strategies. Sometimes it's just the small little bits of team play that really make the difference. We'll go to a quick break. When we come back, our desk will break it down for you.